This is WBRW TV News. I'm Jeannie Lurchin along with Paul Henneke with a look at what's happening in the Tri-Community area. Romeo High School's Charity Week tops this week's news as students donated money towards helping the troops. Part of the week's activities including packing boxes to be sent overseas. This was the second-hour challenge, and as you can see, it took a lot of students to pack all the items that were donated. By the end of the day, over 100 boxes were packed and sent off to the troops. The local branch of the Michigan Military Moms covered all the shipping costs. The week ended with a massive pep rally in the Romeo High School gym, where a check was given to local war vet Alex Knapp. Over $16,000 was raised, and the kids rolled out the red carpet for Alex as he had this to say.
Thank you very much. This is incredible. Even through my high school years, I never saw school spirit like this. You guys are amazing.
And congrats go out to Mr. Bulldog Alex Willenborg. The entire Mr. Bulldog competition will be aired on WBRW TV next week. Check the Romeo Observer or WBRW.org for dates and times. We all know the state of Michigan is in financial turmoil, and as a result, so are our schools. Romeo School Superintendent Dr. Nancy Campbell is here to answer some questions regarding the district's financial condition. Dr. Campbell, how are schools in Michigan funded?
Well, Jeannie, before Proposal A, many school districts in Michigan relied on property taxes from their communities to run their schools. In 1994, Proposal A brought tax reform in that it created a dependency on the state for approximately 73% of Romeo Community Schools' total revenue. All homeowners in the state had their taxes reduced to 6 mills for school operating purposes. Those tax dollars then and now are sent to Lansing. Lansing distributes money to each district in the form of a foundation grant. Our foundation grant is $7,846 per student. Proposal A also included a sales tax rate increase from 4% to 6%. It was thought that the increase in sales tax would lead to more money for schools.
How will this financial crisis affect our school district?
When the state experiences significant financial difficulties, it affects their ability to properly fund schools. In general, the state's financial difficulties fall into 4 areas. The first is a slow economy. That results in less tax collection for the state. Sales tax is the main source of state revenue for school aid. Second, tax cuts since school funding reform in 94-95 has reduced annual tax collections by $600 million per year. Third, the state has used one-time funds and stimulus dollars from the federal government to balance budgets in recent years, but no new funds are really available for the future. Over a 2-year period, Romeo will receive an estimated $3,692,780 of non-recurring federal stimulus dollars to offset losses in state aid. And finally, retirement and health care for state employees continues to rise.
Well, what happened to the stimulus money?
The American Recovery Reinvestment Act, ARRA, or ARRA, as some people say it, that provided dollars from the federal government to each state. These funds were to be used to create and maintain jobs, which would stimulate economic growth. The dollars for education have been used to offset the lack of revenue at the state level. Actually, because of a larger, more rapid decline in state revenues than originally anticipated, stimulus dollars were already used to plug budget holes in the 2008-2009 school aid fund, and again, this year, 2009-2010. There will be little and possibly no stimulus funds available beyond this year, making the state financial situation a much larger concern.
How will this financial crisis affect our school district?
The state has not provided adequate funding for several years. The per pupil foundation allowance has remained relatively flat for many years, and the state has made mid-year reductions in funding in 2002, 2003, 2004, 2008, and 2009. The state has cut this year's budget $165 per student, For Romeo, that equates to approximately $924,000, and there may still be the possibility of an additional per pupil reduction if state revenues continue to decline. Unfortunately, a further reduction in state school aid could come in May of this year, 11 months into our fiscal year, making adjustments in this year's budget extremely difficult, if not impossible.
We know lottery money is used for education. What happened to that money?
We all thought the lottery money was going to be the savior for school funding, but the lottery actually accounts for only 5 or 6% of the total funding for Michigan public schools.
How did things get so out of control?
Well, from 2003 to 2004 through 2008, 2009, Romeo itself has cut the operating budget over $7.3 million. Repeated years of nominal or no revenue increases coupled with increases in expenditures prompted these cuts. Additionally, as a service industry, our largest cost is salary and benefits, more than 87% of our budget, in fact. Salaries and benefits, which are decided locally, have been adjusted to ease budget reductions. Retirement costs, which are controlled at the state level, continue to increase each year.
Does the district have any money in the bank that it can use to solve the problem?
First, let me explain what fund balance or fund equity means. Those two terms are interchangeable. They refer to what some of us would call the rainy day fund or what you and I would call our savings accounts. Basically, when you hear a school person use the term fund balance or fund equity, they are referring to the money that has been saved for emergencies. Our district has about $3.8 million in fund equity. $3.1 million of that amount is in cash. This represents about 7.8% of our total expenditures. This last year, Romeo relied on its fund equity for $74,777 to keep the budget in balance. This year, since expenditures are estimated to exceed revenues, absent a reduction in program or services and/or further employee concessions, we are currently estimating to use another $294,000. This will reduce the fund balance to $3.5 million or 7.3%. The district auditors recommend the district should maintain a fund balance of between 10 and 15%. Again, fund balance, like your savings account, is one-time dollars used to meet emergency or unplanned expenditures. Once used, it's gone. Romeo has conservatively used these funds over the years to offset cash flow problems, mid-year state aid reductions, and last year to balance the budget. The state aid reductions traditionally come late in the school year, leaving the school district few options other than to use the fund balance.
How will the budget impact class size and programs, and will layoffs occur?
Currently, we are projecting a $4 million or 8% deficit for 2010-11, and that will have a significant impact on our district. Since school districts are really people organizations, it makes the magnitude of budget reductions without impacting class size and instituting staff layoffs extremely difficult. We are currently negotiating with our union groups, and we hope to achieve savings in the wages and benefits areas. Through our budget development process, the district's administrators are identifying an instructional minimum operating threshold, which should assist us in identifying possible program service reductions.
Well, Dr. Campbell, why is this important for me to know?
Well, Jeannie, it's important for you and everyone to know about this because these are your tax dollars. The elected officials in Lansing control the vast majority of the dollars you pay for schools, and they are the only people who can change the way schools are funded. You can help by contacting your legislators and asking them to fully fund our schools. When the governor and legislature passed Proposal A in 1994, they promised to fund schools properly. They have not lived up to that promise. Make sure they know how you feel by contacting your representatives and senators. Their phone numbers and